Do you have insomnia? Do you have nightmares? Do you get night terrors? It might be time to quit chicken. Let's talk about it. I'm Lila. This is the Virtual Natural Healing Clinic where we help you claim your birthright to health and happiness. If you're dealing with a chronic or complex issue or condition or symptoms and you haven't been able to find help elsewhere, from migraines to chronic pain to chronic digestive issues to hormonal imbalances to you can't sleep at night, call us. We got you. Okay, we're going to talk about chicken. And we're going to talk about this in a bit of a broader sense of energetics and how this is such a missing piece in a lot of people's healthcare models and healthcare plans. So I am a practitioner of Ayurveda. I do some stuff with traditional Chinese medicine, and I adopt a system of energetics. That means that I am not just looking at what an individual has, I'm looking at these certain qualities going on in their body and using that to inform care and what herbs or what supplements or what food recommendations or lifestyle recommendations I am making. So today we're going to use insomnia as our example, and we are going to stay within an Ayurvedic framework. So Ayurveda is the oldest, continually practiced medical system on the planet Earth today. It's well over 6,000 years old, and it's the mother of all healing. That's where Unani comes from. That's where traditional Chinese medicine comes from. That's where Greek medicine, like the medicine Hippocrates practiced, came from. And a lot of things from even our Western medical model stem from Ayurveda in some way, shape, or form. It's a beautiful, beautiful system. It's practiced by many people still on this planet Earth today. It's starting to gain popularity in America, but more as a spa treatment than a fully fledged medical system, which it is. It has everything from gynecology to psychology to surgery and chronic disease management, but it definitely believes that lifestyle and food as medicine and preventative care is the best route. But if somebody does have symptoms or a disease, then it has the tools to help them along. So that's your little crash course in Ayurveda. And I think just one more thing I'm going to say about it is the core of Ayurveda is it's an energetic system, which means that it treats everybody like an individual and it looks for these certain qualities. And if we see these qualities in the body that are causing issues, we need to do the opposite. That is like a very, very, very simple way of putting it. But how that's going to look is if somebody's too hot, they're inflamed, we're going to cool them down. If somebody's too cold, we're going to warm them up. If somebody's too heavy, we're going to lighten them. If somebody's too light, we're going to make things heavier, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of different qualities we look for: weight, temperature, and quality, quantity, flow. These are some of the things that we are going to take a look at. So with our example, insomnia, we're going to talk about the energetics in Ayurveda that are responsible for insomnia. So most people who are dealing with insomnia fall into a category of being too light and too dry. So what's happening is, and this is a metaphor, so you really have to kind of suspend your current view of the body and the medical system and sit within this metaphor for this to make sense, because it can sound a little out there, but it absolutely works. I use this in practice every day. I use this with myself every day. And it's amazing how when you have too much of something in the body and you do the opposite and you bring things back into balance, things shift and people get better in a way that they have not been able to get better before. So with insomnia, a lot of people might try and throw sleep herbs at it. They might try and say, oh, you're not sleeping, let me give you a sleep herb like valerian, hops, or passion flower, or chamomile, even though those are pretty soft in the potency department. But what they're not understanding when we do that is, what are the energetics of this person and what does this person need to come back into balance? Because the whole goal at the end of the day in all the work we do is to get people back into balance. Because once the body's in balance, you don't have symptoms. Your body's able to self-regulate. It's able to be dynamic, and you're doing things like sleep. You have energy. Your food is digesting. You are in balance. Your body's operating when it's in balance. So, sorry, I'm squirreling. Back to insomnia. The most common characteristics of people struggling with insomnia are dryness and lightness. So when people get dry, light, and I'll even throw cold in there, these are the characteristics of the Vata dosha. If you know anything with Ayurveda, Vata dosha is most likely responsible if somebody is having insomnia. So instead of throwing a sleep herb at it, instead of treating the symptom, we can look at the whole person and understand where their body's back into balance and what we need to do to fix it. So if a person is dry and light and cold, we want to moisten them. That's the opposite of dry. Light, so we want to bring in heavy things, and cold, so we want to warm them up. So me the other night, and I'll be honest, I am an experimenter with my health, and I will do things that push the bounds. And I ate a meal that was extremely light and dry the other night. It had raw veggies, very dry, very light. It had chicken, also a very dry, very light meat. It had lentil pasta, also going to be on the dry side. And I had the worst night's sleep I've had in a while. And I knew, because of what my constitution tends towards, the things that I'm susceptible to, if I'm not careful and I don't keep things in balance, that it pushes me in a certain area and I get things like insomnia. So I knew, after struggling through a terrible night's sleep, that I could directly tie it back to what I ate before bed. My chicken and my raw veggies. And this is a reoccurring thing for me. So I have to be very careful with when I'm eating foods like chicken or raw veggies or even certain beans, because if I eat too many light or dry things, they push up my Vata, my air element. They push up the lightness and the dryness and the coldness in my body, and they throw me out of balance. And one of those consequences is insomnia. Why is it insomnia? Because the flow of energy is wrong. Things are drifting into the head when they should be being ground down into the body. And we don't have the grounding or the heaviness that we need to sleep. Sleep is a heavy activity. We're tired, we're heavy, we're sleeping, we're down, we're under covers. So when we have too much lightness and dryness, it disturbs that process. So that is why something like chicken could be impacting your sleep. Chicken's a very dry and light food. Popcorn's a very dry and light food. Crackers are a very dry and light food. And if we do too many of these dry and light foods and we don't have enough moistening things coming in, if we don't have enough heavy things coming in, the consequences are things like insomnia, anxiety, constipation, cold hands and feet. Does that sound like you? We may need to treat and address an excess of Vata in your system. Now, again, this is very rudimentary, very basic Ayurveda. It gets a lot more complicated than that. We go past these elements at some point and these imbalances and look more into organ systems and the channels of the body and the tissues of the body and all kinds of other good things. But if you can understand that if something is too high and we need to do the opposite of it to bring balance in, then you have a pretty good idea of how to handle your health. If you're feeling too dry, eat more moistening foods like oatmeal and okra. If you're feeling too hot, eat a bunch of cucumber. That's something that's cooling. If you're feeling too heavy, we need to lighten up your load, and that's when you eat like vegetables and millet and light foods. I look at these pieces of information like short codes. People come with a bunch of symptoms. I mean, like, I don't think I've seen anybody that hadn't had under 5 pressing symptoms to this day. So instead of trying to address and treat each one of these symptoms individually, which is cumbersome and doesn't get to the root cause, we can find the pattern and the imbalances and start there. It's a really beautiful way to help people feel good. It's often really overlooked because most practitioners don't use this and don't get this individualized when helping people. So we miss the opportunity to really get to the bottom of insomnia, anxiety, constipation, chronic pain, chronic inflammation, chronic anger, being overweight, all of the things that people deal with and struggle with. So if you're not sleeping, don't eat chicken before bed. That's all I have for you today. I would love to hear if you guys have questions or comments, or if you'd like to dive more into the weird and wonderful world of Ayurveda or how these things work in practice. I also invite you to subscribe, to like, to ring the bell thing that I think you're supposed to ring, and we'll see you next time.